Hi everyone, Kevin McDonnell here. I'm live in the room at PPN London Blackfriars. Just to prove it, say hi everyone! We've got over 80 people in the room, there's not an empty seat. And tonight we're doing a live Q&A all about no money down property investing. I've got in my panel, so Estvan Vai, say hi Estvan.
Hi.
So Estvan did my no money down training about 18 months ago. He really struggled to start with, he won't mind saying that himself, he's just shared it with the room anyway. He spent months struggling to get started, kept coming to me saying it won't work, I can't do it. It doesn't work in my area, all this sort of stuff. Eventually he got started. He's done 3 deals in the last 4 months. He's done other deals as well before that. He's really taken off. He's grown his business now. So that's Estvan. He's going to be answering some of the questions. We've got Graham Page. Graham, I met at Multiple Streams of Property Income in London about 2.5 years ago. Yep. Graham was sitting on the front row, didn't have a clue about property. And he was sitting on the front row asking all these questions. He'll tell you that himself. He didn't. Did you have a clue about property?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. So he sat there and he joined my No Money Down training. Over the last 2.5-ish years, he started to build his business. He set up lots of joint ventures. He even joined ventures with me here at PPM Blackfriars because we became friends. And he's here tonight as well to share some answers to what his challenges have been. He's an outsourcing expert. We've got lots of people in the room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here. It is a test. Let me know online if it stops working. Well, you won't be able to because I won't know. But you know what I'm saying. I'll sit here. So, yeah, over to you guys. So I said for the next sort of 45, 50 minutes, what I thought we'd do is wherever you're at in your property journey, any challenges you have, any issues you've got, anything you want to know specifically around no money down strategies, around property stuff, the floor is open to you. We'll answer the questions as best we can from our experiences, from our knowledge, etc. So we'll do the whole progressive thing just because they're listening in. And in progressive, if you're listening in, we do what's your name, and then somebody puts their hand up and says what their name is, and then everybody else says hi name. So let's try that out. Who'd like to go first? Anybody else? Okay. Have some fun as well. What's the name?
Denise.
Hi, Denise.
How hard? My question is to number 2. Sounds like
Number 2.
Number 2.
Blind date. Blind date. Okay, your question is number 2.
Number 2. I know you said I've been around. I've known Rob Moore since 2008, but I only got my feet wet since last year. So number 2, for the rent to rent and going out and actually the rejection. That's what I don't like. Rejection. Men, hush. The rejection of saying no from the estate agents and all the different agents. How do you overcome it? Because if they say no to me, I look at them and walk out, but I have to go back. How do you deal with it?
This is going to be probably a bit of a cliche if you've been to a lot of the courses, but I've actually read that book called Go for No.
Yeah.
And that really helped me, to be honest, because that just sort of opens your mind to this fact that you going for no's, really, as the title suggests. So the more no's you get, the closer you are to the yes. It's bloody hard, but once you actually realise that that is actually how it's going to happen, and it really works. And that's pretty much what got me through. And don't tell anyone, but I put a few signs up in my office at home. One of those was Go for No. Yeah. And that helped me every single time when I went home. I said, this was a shit day. But you know what? That says up there that I need to go for no's. And that will be a yes.
Thank you.
So let me also add to that, Denise. So what you should also do as part of the mindset side is actually put up on the wall the number of no's that you've had, and you record all of those and who they were with. And then what you need to actually do, and the reason why you do that is actually, although you haven't got a deal yet, you are making progress. Because what happens is your brain will play tricks on you and says, well, I've got no deal yet, I've got no deal yet, I've got a failure, and then little voices start coming out of your head. If you can start showing yourself and recording what you've done every single week, and you've gone and done 22 estate agent visits, and you've had 22 no's, that means that you've done 22 conversations, which means you're getting closer to being better, more practice at it, and then what will happen is you will actually then get the yes, because you'll know what the objections are, you'll know how to respond to them, you'll know exactly what to say, and you'll actually start picking out the signs. But you've got to put it into action, you've got to put it into practice.
Who's in a job? Just raise your hand. Okay, so keep your hand up if you're in the job for more than 12 months now and you're better at the job today than you were when you started. So But what we do on any property strategy is we read a book and we think we're an expert. Property is the most expensive thing we're ever going to do in our lives. We read a book and we try and do it. I've got people that have read my No Money Down book and they try and do a lease option deal. The most technical, most difficult strategy there probably is, and they try to do it after reading a book. It's the biggest, most expensive thing you'll do in your life. But then they walk into an estate agent, and what they do is they think, this is the agent I really want a long-term working relationship with. So they walk into that estate agent as the first agent they've ever visited, and they try and negotiate a deal with them. The first agent they've ever visited. Raise your hand if you think that's going to go a bit shit. Yeah, because you're not a professional yet. You haven't practiced. You should be practicing out of town. And I say this to people on our trainings, is practice out of area. And there's some of you in the room that have done who's done my No Money Down training in the room? A few people. Few. Right, so some of you, I guarantee you when I speak to you, I know this happens. I've had conversations with some of you. I always say, do 10 viewings outside of your area, outside of town, and you will be better by the 11th viewing. By the time you do the 11th one, you'll be better. And then you come back to your own town, and you start with the least likely agent you want to work with, because you're still building up to the perfect offer. Because you're getting better every time you do it, as Graham said. But I know some of you, even though you've done the training, still haven't done those 10 viewings out of town. Do you follow the successful, and success follows? You have to do that. Everything else in our lives tell us that the more we practice something, the better we get. But in property, we expect the result immediately. You need to have the knowledge, but the result doesn't necessarily come immediately. Look at Estran. He had the knowledge, but he kept going. But a lot of people would have quit. A lot of people would have quit. But part of the challenge was I wouldn't let him quit, because I was there pushing him and telling him, you ain't quit. But I'm telling you guys, do not quit. Every one of you are going to face challenges. I don't care what challenges you had in the past. They're not the last challenges you have. We have challenges for the rest of our lives. We're going to fail in property in different ways forever. But overall, we're going to be successful, so long as you keep going.
Can I ask that? So I think the other thing about it is before you go into the estate agent or before you send out the HMO letters, you've got to know what you're going to say before you walk in the door. So you've got to have all your objections ready, and you've got to have all those answers ready. So you know the old saying about the 7 Ps, about proper planning prevents piss poor performance, the old SASN. So when I did my first deal, when I had my first phone calls in the HMO letters, I got this guy going, "What do you want?" He goes, "Whoa!" And I'm like, I didn't know what to say to him. Just like complete paralysis. But then what I did, with Kevin's help, was I got my script. And so he rings up, I get this thing out of my back pocket, and I go, yes, hello, where do you get my number, take it all off, or whatever it was. I said, oh, hello, this is what I do, this is what I'm interested in. Is that the sort of thing that will be interest to you? And you then start following the script, and you don't look like such a numpty, and you actually start looking professional. Me, professional. But you've got to have that preparation before you do the steps. And it's the same with going into the steps.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Who'd like to go next? What's the name?
Yeah, me.
Hi.
Hi, I just wanted to find out from Matt. You were saying about how difficult it
Is that
was.
me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You did. Number 2.
You seem very popular today. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, because we couldn't relate. So, first of all, what kind of value? How did it look as if when you got your business partner was when you were able to? Like, are you advising that it would be better to have a business partner than to go to the
Sorry, say it again, sorry.
Do you advise having a business partner rather than doing it alone?
So this is obviously my personal experience, but yes, definitely. And there are many reasons for that, really, from my perspective. So I think unless you're doing this full time, and I think a lot of you are in full-time employment, so you have to somehow realise that there's only so many hours in a day available to you. Now, as Graham was saying earlier, you can do many things. You could work smarter, harder, or employ other people. But most people in the beginning, either you don't have the money to employ another person, you can't work harder because you already work God knows how many hours. So the other option is employ another person. Again, money is an option. So the other thing you can do is find yourself a business partner, a JV partner. Obviously, you need to find someone who you complement each other with, you've got complementary skills. So I would definitely recommend it. I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Yeah.
So the other side of the question was what kind of marketing strategy worked for you?
So for deals,
Yeah, do you talked about HMO letters and we
Yeah.
talked about estate agents visits. Could be an offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I had rejections for both, to be honest. So first I tried the agent route, that didn't work, and then I tried the HMO letters, and that also didn't work. And I decided to go back to the agent route. And actually, that is the one that's been a success.
Can I answer part of that?
Yeah, of course.
It's not, and people say to me this all the time, and people listen in, you say it all the time, is what works best. And then what they do is they pick what he does because it works best. But it's not actually that it's the best thing to do. It's not even that it's the best thing to do in his area. So he said he started with agents and it didn't work. So then he moved on to HMO letters and it didn't work. And then he went back to agents and it did work. Why did it work the second time? I'll tell you why. Because he was better. Because he did the practice. It's not that the agents didn't work the first time. He just wasn't good enough the first time. In all reality, he was getting better. The thing he did was he didn't quit. He kept going. If he went back to HMO letters now, you know that deal that he didn't get? He'd probably get it. Different time, more experience, has learned what to say at the right time to get that deal across the line. It is not about this works for him, so I must do it. I know people, I stand on stage all the time, and people come from London and they go up into my town and invest and buy properties in my area. They don't know the streets. They don't know the house prices. They're buying stuff I wouldn't touch. Because they're doing what they say, oh, Kevin invests there, that's what I'll do. And they do the very same thing with the marketing. What they say is, what's the best marketing to do, Esteban? Instead of saying, how do I get better at securing deals? Because I'll tell you something right now. I don't care if you're the best marketer in this room. You won't get a single deal if you don't know how to negotiate the deal. Marketing, you can be the best in the world. But if you don't know how to negotiate that deal, marketing's dead. And it's the negotiation that's almost more important than the marketing. Because the market, you can walk into an agent to find a deal. You've got to know how to negotiate it. He got better at negotiating. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Oh, loads of hands. We'll go here and then to Michelle. Is that okay? Just keep your hand up. No, I'm joking. What's the name?
Melissa. Hello, everyone. My question is for Kevin from Normal Boundary. I can see some blocks of garages in my area,
Right.
which is not being used. I would love to do with them something. How can I buy them with Normal Boundary? Do you have any idea, please?
Great question. So people come to me all the time and they say, can I stand for this? I'll sit for this because the camera, I'm not a camera, sorry. People come to me all the time and say, I've got a deal. I've got a house. I've got a deal. And what they've got is actually a link to something on Rightmove. It's not a deal. And then I say, tell me about it. And they say, there are a block of garages. They're empty for ages. And I'm like, what about the people? Tell me the owner, the situation. I've no idea. I've not spoken to them yet. I don't know them. So what you've got is a property that you've seen online or somewhere that's available for sale, but you don't know anything about the owner. So you don't know how long they've owned it. You don't know what their plans are. You don't know if they've got any debt on them. You don't know anything about them. You cannot structure a deal unless you deal with the person. Property is a people business. It's a people business. So when you say, how do I structure that deal? Well, it depends. It totally depends on if that person wants to sell. It totally depends if that person's got no plans for it. It totally depends on how good a negotiator you are on the deal. There's lots of variables to secure that deal. But it does not start with, there's a block of garages, so there's a deal. It's about the people. What does the person want? And when I spent 10 years viewing houses, and I was looking at 100 grand houses, trying to buy them at 75 grand, 25% below market value. Make sense? And I was doing 15-minute viewings. And you'll know if you're doing this, getting as many viewings done as possible, in and out of houses, in 15 minutes. I didn't get any deals. Because let's say somebody's got a 100 grand house, and I'm trying to buy it for 75. I never asked that person what their debt was. What do they need? Why are they selling? Where are they moving to? How quickly do they need to sell? I was just making a price based on the numbers of the house. Now, 25 below market value it's literally vanity. Because you could buy a 100 grand house for 75 that rents out for 500 quid a month and the mortgage is 500 quid a month. You're not making any money. And by buying it at 75, all you've done is set the new market value at 75. Solve the person's problem. What if that person actually had a debt? What if they had a mortgage of 97 grand? What if they owed the bank 97 grand? I'm offering them 75. No wonder they didn't buy the house. If you ever walk out of a viewing having put an offer in and you don't know the reason why they didn't sell it to you, you've not done the negotiation right. You need to know why they haven't sold it. And if the reason they haven't sold it is because they owe the bank 97, what I could have done was done a lease option. Babysitted their 97 grand mortgage and given them their equity. Give them the 3 grand so they can move away. Because they're not getting 75 grand for their house. They're getting the bit that's left after the mortgage company is paid. And any property deal, any professional investor focuses on solving the other person's problem. If you solve other people's problems, you'll start to make money. And that's what the concept of no money down is all about. No money down is not a property strategy. No money down is how you deliver the strategy. If you want to do serviced accommodation, you do it no money down. If you want to do commercial conversions, you do it no money down. If you want to do single lets, you do it no money down. Most people know what they want to do, and the common problem they've got is they don't have the money to do it. No money down is how you do what you want to do. So you go to the garage owners, you find out who they are, you find out what they want, what their circumstances is. And it's a numbers game. Esteban said earlier about he focused too long on one deal, on the marketing, on trying to secure one deal, and he forgot about his marketing. And when the deal fell apart, he was back at square one. So he had no other deals. So what I see so many people do is they chase a deal. They get a call about something, they think it's a deal. It is not a deal, it's a lead. It's a lead that you could convert to a deal later, maybe. But you've got to keep filling the funnel. You've got to keep putting more opportunities into the top of your funnel. So if that one doesn't happen, there's more opportunities coming. Because the block of garages, maybe they're not interested in selling. But if you've been looking for loads of blocks of garages, it doesn't matter that 1 or 2 of them aren't. And he said go for no. Because if you've got 10 blocks of garages lined up with 10 different people, who thinks there's a chance that one of them might say yes? Yeah. But if you've only got one person with 1 block of garages, you ain't got a property business. Let's be real. You've not got a property business. You've just got 1 lead. That's it. And it might not even be a lead. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Can I just say that this is true for anything else we've got. So our rent-to-own deal that I presented earlier, the landlord asked for $1,600 for a month and we negotiated out to $1,250. Simply because the first thing we ask is what are the
If you've got any questions, yeah, just post them below. You can keep talking.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Don't worry about it. Post your questions below. I'll take one from here, from live.
About the actual circumstances of the landlord or the seller, that's the most important thing. So that's the only reason we could get it done. We could be paying $1,600 for it and it wouldn't be a deal. But because we got it done, because we knew that landlord needed to get out of the place, he just wanted to hand the keys over to us because he was so much trouble.
Michelle. She had her hand up earlier.
Hi, Michelle.
Everyone.
Hi, Michelle.
What's the name, Michelle?
How is everybody? This is for all of you. When I did Kevin's course recently, going on viewings was like the first milestone. But now I've gone past that milestone. My next challenge is actually putting in offers and having to negotiate.
When did you do the training? A couple of months ago?
March.
Yeah, March. What experience had you before the training?
Other than buying my house now.
Nothing. Just on your hand, confidence level. Where have you? I know you've got a long way to go yet in terms of your next milestone, but confidence level as a property person, where would you say you've moved to? From where to where? 0 to 5. Cool. Who'd like to go to 0 to 5 in 3 months? Yeah. No, that's and this is the point is, she's not at 10 yet. You don't need to be at 10 yet because you're only a couple of months in. But your confidence, I've worked with you for 3 months, I've seen your confidence grow. It is growing. But what she's doing is she's taking action. She's out there looking for the deals. She backs herself and she's keeping going. I just wanted to say that about you before we carry on. She backs herself. So take your question now.
So my question is, how do you get better at negotiating? Because I'm putting offers in, and every time I come across a different scenario, it's different all the time. It's not the same situation. So how do you just get better at negotiating? Sorry, it's a bit general, but
Just practice.
What I do is I do my viewings on Rightmove and Spain and all those places like that. Not Spain, but Rightmove and so on. And then I do what's known as a quick and dirty analyzer. So I can go in and I will look at the floor plans, or should I say, my virtual assistant will go and look at my floor plans because I've outsourced it all, because I've got better things to do than sit on Rightmove all day. And they basically will actually work out how many rooms are available from that property, and therefore you do a reverse analysis to work out how much you can offer the landlord. And based on that, when you walk in there, you already know how much money you can make on the deal, how much you should be offering. So if it's at like £2,000 and you know it's going to be at 1,200 quid, you're going to have a bit of work to do to get them down. But as Esteban did, you know, he had to move them down from 1,600 quid down to nearly 1,300. So there's room and negotiation in there. So I only do those, and then at that stage, then do I go out and I do the viewings, because I know they're the ones which are going to make me money, or potentially money. I've weeded all of the other ones out, whereby the gap is too big or the property isn't usable. So I'm working smart.
So that analyses which deals you should view and which ones you shouldn't. What most people then do, and I've been mentoring people for 4+ years now, and I see it all the time, the same stuff from the same people. They positively procrastinate. So I say to them on our trainings, you need to do 10 viewings this week. I meet them 6 months later and they're saying to me, I've only got one deal, or I've not got a deal yet. I'm really struggling to negotiate deals. I don't know what to say, etc. And I say, how many viewings have you done? 6. 6 viewings in 6. You were supposed to do 10 in the first week. You've done 6. It's practice. But what we do is, well, I've been doing other things in property. And what you do is you want to feel like you're a property investor. You want to feel like you're busy. So you positively procrastinate. And you sit at home and you analyze deals. And you do the research and the numbers. And you get your business cards ready. And then you do your website. And then you realize that on your website something's slightly different to your business card, so you can do a new business card. And then you go to a networking event, and at the networking event they tell you, or you pick a business card up off somebody else and you go, oh my God, that looks lovely, I better change mine. So you do a 3rd business card. And you're doing all of this stuff to make you feel like you're busy in property. And the one thing you're not doing is the only thing that will put money in your pocket. Viewings. Viewings and offers. And if you keep going out there and do viewings and offers, if you do 100 of them, going for no, I guarantee you you'll have had 5 deals. You'll have 95 rejections. But if you've only done 6 viewings and put in 6 offers, what's even worse, I know people that have done 6 viewings and they've put in no offers. No offers. I say, why haven't you put an offer in? I didn't think they'd accept it. I mean, that's the definition of insanity, right? You're a property business, you've never even offered on a property. So, viewings and offers. But what we do is we're afraid of no. You're afraid of no. Do you know what's worse than no? Yes. I'm telling you, if you get a yes to your offer, you will be really pissed off. Because you'll have paid too much. No is not the end of a negotiation, guys. No is the start of a negotiation. It's the start of the negotiation. That's where it starts. Then you say, what is it about my offer that you're not happy with? How can we make it right for you? What would work for you? It's the start. But you've got to do the viewings, you've got to put the offers, and you automatically become better at negotiation. Negotiation, just like anything else, is a learned skill. It's a learned skill, but you can't learn it reading a book. You can't. We role-play negotiation on the training. We do a few hours of role-play. I get people up on stage and we role-play negotiation. But that's just to show you the start. You don't become an expert by watching that. You then got to do it and implement it. I've gone into loads of houses over the years and I've walked out smacking myself on the back of the head going, what the hell, and the front, and the side, what the hell did you say that for? Why would you say that? I have blown deals that were bang on deals, 100% a deal. The only way, I had a yes and I'd say something that it would turn it to a no. It happens. And then you start saying to yourself, I can't do this. Not me. It's just part of the journey, guys. It's part of the journey. It's part of learning. It's part of becoming better. You get some, you lose some. The best deals sometimes you lose and the shit one you get. But everyone moves you forward. And you know what's not most important? The first deal, getting the first deal, it's not important about getting the best deal. I see loads of people and they wait for the best deal. I've got this deal, but I want a better one. It's not about getting a great deal first, it's about getting a deal. Because the confidence grows. Just get yourself a deal. Not a shit deal, just an okay deal. Just get yourself an okay deal. Most of the first property, well, apart from the first ones I ever bought, which I can't even give away, but of deals I've done in the last 5 or 6 years, the first ones I did are not as good as the ones I've done this year. They're not as good. And the ones I'm doing this year are not as good as the ones I'll do in 3-4 years' time. Because we do better deals, we do bigger deals, we do more deals. But you gotta start. You gotta start. Shania, what's the name?
Hi, Sinead.
May I offer some advice and then may I ask a
Grab a stool.
No,
I'm
no,
sitting,
no,
go
no,
on.
no. Some advice for people to get going. If you collect your local newspapers and look for landlords that are advertising their properties, you know, in this paper, they're often older landlords, they've got more time. You can go and see them, and they love to, you don't have to say anything, they love to walk you around their properties and tell you all about it. There's no agent fees, and you're much more likely to get a deal with them. So if you're a bit nervous of agents and their sort of professionalism, then try going to a landlord who's a little bit tired, who wants a hand, who wants a help, and try that and see if that works. So that's my little bit of advice.
Awesome advice.
Yes.
Round of applause for Shania's advice.
And my question, actually probably to you, would be in terms of lease options, vendor, to you, darling. So lease options, vendor finance, and assisted sales, the things we know and love.
I'm married. That wasn't the question.
No, I want to marry a house.
Oh, sorry. So what was the question?
So
Sorry.
the
I'm
question-
still on Darlene.
Yeah, so in terms of lease options, vendor finance, the really sexy stuff,
Yeah.
what software is there software out there that we can subscribe to help us find these deals or make anything easier?
No, what a great question. Yeah, so if you, I had a guy at an event, so at multiple streams of property income event I speak at, a guy came out and put his hand up and said, no money down, lease options, no, not in my area. I'm down in Bournemouth. It was London multiple streams, so I'm down in Bournemouth. There's none of those deals available in my area. I said, how do you know? So I've checked the estate agents. There's no lease options advertised there.
That's a good one.
Lease option deals are not advertised on an estate agent's window. So what you said is there any software or anything that can highlight what a lease option deal is? Any house is a lease option deal. It's about the negotiation. It's about the people. So what I mean by that is, you could have a house for, stand up again, I need to sit down, I hate sitting down.
It's not software that highlights what's a lease option, but it's software, for example, that would highlight a house that's up for sale and for rent at the same time. And we know that's a great scenario.
Yeah, so
is there anything that we
no.
can subscribe to help
Yeah.
us find scenarios?
If she's listening, you need a Linda. A Linda. A Linda. An Linda.
That's your wife, isn't it?
Yes, my wife. Hi, if you're listening. Yeah. So what? Because Graham mentioned about outsourcing. So
Yes.
one of the lease options: rent to own. If a house is on the market for rent and it's on the market for sale, rent to buy. There's a hint there. Rent to own. So what might be? There's no software that does both or shows you both. But what my wife does is she goes on to Rightmove, on for rent and for sale, and she just looks at photographs of houses, and you see ones that look the same. And then we'll approach those.
Okay.
But more importantly is just on the agent's windows. You speak to the agents, you ask them the questions. They'll know if any landlord, any owner that's selling is maybe interested in renting. But the point is, there's no software. People are too caught up on software and programs and all this sort of stuff and apps and analysing. And nobody's going out speaking to people. Speak to people. It's a people business. Speak to people. This is what we do as well. We put offers in on houses, and we do it by email. We hide behind email and text messages. Do you know how easy it is on an email to say no? Or to write another reply back that's got more questions? I have never offered on a house across an email. I have always said, I'm interested in making an offer, do you want to meet for a coffee, or can I pop around the house? And I will bring the offer on paper and offer it face to face. Because at face to face, what we can end up with is a handshake. Yeah, over email, all we end up is batting back and forth. It's a tennis match. It's a tennis match. We hide behind email because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of the no. What do I say to them if they say no and I'm face to face with them? But if you're on an email, you ain't going to get it. You're going to struggle to get that deal. You reduce your chances by about 90%. You got to meet people face to face. But people, back to people. A house. It's on the market. It's a house. Maybe it came on the market 4 days ago. People say to me, I've got this property, it came on the market 4 days ago, it could be the perfect lease option. If it came on the market 4 days ago, they might not be motivated enough. But, so we say it should be on the market for maybe 6 months plus. However, a house could have come on the market 4 days ago, and it might have only gone on the market because they've been getting letters for a repossession for the last 9 months. And the judge has just said you've got 2 months to go, and suddenly it's kind of hit home that they need to move. Or they've stuck it on the market because their company has just told them they're moving them to a new job in Canada, and they've got to move in 5 weeks' time. So just because it's only just come on the market doesn't mean that it's not a motivated seller.
No.
But also, if it's been on a long time, they're probably more motivated. But how do you find out? You speak to the people. Got to find out this information, guys. Any house is a potential option deal. Any house is a potential assisted sale. Any house is a potential rent-to-rent. But you've got to speak to the people and find out their situation. I talk about it, multiple streams of property income, 6 stages to a result. Stage number 1 is build rapport. You build rapport with the homeowner. Stage 2 is empathize. You've got to empathize with the person. And you can't do this in a 15-minute viewing. Whatever their problem is, you empathize with it. Stage number 3, I need to learn how to spell now, is S, yeah? I'm Irish, English is my second language. S, situation. You find out their situation. You, of result, understanding. You get a really good understanding of their situation. The most important one probably is L, learning. You understand that you might not get a deal, but you absolutely learned something. You see, you earn or you learn. You don't lose. You earn or you learn. So you learn something. And the T of result is time. You've got to put the time in. Not 15-minute viewings. You put the time in. 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever it takes. And you don't do it in one viewing. One of the things I teach on the No Money Down training is how to break a negotiation into 3 viewings. You do 3 viewings on your negotiation. You break it down into 3 different viewings. So does that help? Any deal. I walk into a house, I'm not thinking this is a lease option deal. I'm not thinking it's an assisted sale deal. I'm thinking I need to solve the person's problem. And whatever the solution is, I'll take one of my tools. What most people do is they walk into a house and they've got one tool in their toolbox. And that's 25% below market value. And they're trying to buy a house for the number, for a value, 25% B&V. You are a plumber walking into a house with a lump hammer. You're making the problem worse. You've got to walk into that property with a toolbox full of tools. Lease option, assisted sale, EDCs, vendor finance, etc., etc. And you pick out the right tool to solve their problem, not solve yours. Too many people try to solve their problem. But I'll say something in front of the room tonight. Our Diamond members, and we're going to coach them. Because all they did tonight, most of them, not all, but some of them stood here, and all they did was try to solve their problem. They got to solve your problem. They solve your problem, you want to work with them. Not stand here and say, I need this, I need this, I need this. So I'm going to coach you all on how to help other people. How to solve other people's problems. Because if you actually stood here and said, what help do you need? How can I help you? Maybe people would want to work with you. Maybe you'd grow your business. I spent years chasing the money, guys. I chased the money for years and I ended up over 100 grand in debt. Solve other people's problems. You solve other people's problems, you make the money automatically. Is this helpful, guys? Yeah? Is this helpful? If it's helpful, say yes, it's helpful.
It's jumping up and down. Your battery is low.
Oh, our battery's low, we might have to leave. Can we plug it in?
20%. 20% lost.
Phil, tell me what it's all about.
It's a big question for Isabel, if you don't mind, but it's an important one.
All right.
How did you get direct to vendor through an agent?
Direct to vendor through an agent.
How did they let you have access to the vendor?
So it took a few months to build a relationship. So we had one deal through them initially, which was really just a big stepping stone to get to the point where we are now. So we had a few views with them, we had a few deals that we sort of turned down. We got to a point when we had a relationship sort of building for a few months. And the first deal we actually signed with them, I would probably call it now as a marginal deal. But we felt that we got to a point where we had to... Do you want to carry on?
Yeah, if you can come up. Can the whole audience tell her to come up here, please?
Go on.
What are you doing?
We're done direct to vendor.
Yeah, keep going. Answer Phil's question.
So Yeah, so basically we had to sign a deal. We thought that we had to sign a deal because otherwise we're going to start losing the
Just stand
relationship we built up.
Stand there. Turn around.
Fine.
Leverage. A bit more.
In fact, you can say the
It's
middle.
so hot in here, honestly. This is good. Give her a round of applause. Sorry, Phil, sorry, what was the question? I just seen her doing that and I'm sweating away.
So really, yeah, so we're building the relationship with them, and like I say, we signed a deal that, if you look at the deal that I presented earlier, the first one was nothing like that. It still makes money, house is full, so it works for us, but we just felt that if you don't get that over the line soon enough, they probably start losing faith in us. And because we did, they gave us another one, So we got to the point when it's like, now, they basically give us the contact details of the landlord almost straight away. They go, look, we got this house, you're going to have a chat to them, we can't make the viewing, can you just go speak to the landlord? So it's building the relationship, but actually just showing them you actually are serious.
And you paid them that fee?
Yes, so they get their fees, quite a few of these actually are managed by them, so they get the monthly fees. Again, so if you sign a 5-year contract with these guys, that's 5 years worth of money, fees every month for them sorted. So, very quickly you can be their friends.
Well, go here. What's the name?
Isaac.
Hi.
Hi guys. So my questions are around outsourcing. So I work full time. I've just come off Kevin's no money down course, loads of energy and all that stuff, and then you kind of get into.
When you say you just came off it, when was it?
It was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So yeah, you come off with loads of ideas, loads of energy.
I know
and
that.
you want to get into marketing, and I've got no problem with marketing. I've got a marketing background, so it's something that I'm quite excited to get going. But where the challenge is picking up calls, not letting people down, and being accountable for the effort that you put out there. So I guess my questions around virtual assistants, which I've been looking at, is how can you advise training a virtual assistant so they are competent enough to not lose your leads? Reason why I say that is because I also have a sales background, so I understand what I want to say, but I don't know how you've converted that into training someone so they can be that quality person that doesn't let your business
Okay.
fall.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing question, and I'm afraid I'm going to answer that in December at the session here. No, but seriously though, it's very easy to train a virtual assistant. So you need to think about there's 2 types of virtual assistant. So the first one is the one that you go to whereby you want a one-time transaction. So that could be creating your logo, creating a website, doing your Facebook banner, something like that, where you just pay them for the expertise and they just do it because they're already the expert. So you don't have to know about Adobe or anything else like that. Or you go for the type which I like, which is the long-term relationship type. And one of my VAs actually posted me today and said, "Oh, happy anniversary, Graham! Did you know it's our 2-year anniversary this week?" And he then goes, "My family and everyone at church prays for you and your family because of what you've actually given us." And for me, I like the long-term relationship because you can actually train them the way that you want them to work and you can teach them exactly how you want them to work in your business. So the simplest and easiest way to do it is you need 2 things. One is an app called Screencast-O-Matic or Camtasia or any screen recording software. The second thing you need is a microphone, which you probably have on your laptop. And the third thing you need, which is really important, is your voice. And what you basically do, you're not going to come back in December now, are you? What you basically do is you sit down in front of your screen and you talk and you record the screen and you explain what you're doing and where you're clicking and more importantly, why. So if you're doing a property search, for example, you go, so what I'm doing is here I'm going to the Rightmove website and I'm looking for this type of property in this area, click the button here, and I'm looking for this type. I'm not interested in those ones which are sold subject to sale, or actually I'm not choosing these because. So you're not just imparting the task, you're imparting the reason why they do it. so they actually understand why you're doing it. It's not like click, 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 click. For me, that's nothing. If they know why you're doing, why they do that, and what you're looking for, you'll get a better quality of output at the end of the day. You send that. What you then do is you then send that across to your virtual assistant, and you get them to actually run through that themselves and to demonstrate that they can generate the same output for you. And who in here likes, or to say, who in here loves writing documentation? And who in here has read, what's the book? The Michael Gerber book about
Email.
Yeah, the email, where it teaches you to actually systemize your processes and write your own SOPs. What you can get your VA to do is, based upon your recording, is to write your SOP for you. And the worst thing about it is what they will actually do is they'll write it better than you. And they'll have more stuff in there than you. And they'll then be able to do it faster than you, and they won't need you at all. And what that means is you can then go off and do more interesting things. And you then take that single process, they then run it on a day-to-day basis every time you need it.
So what's SOP?
Standard operating procedure. So it's basically a guide which says, this is how you do it, and this is what you should be clicking on, what you should be looking for. But the key thing is about doing a video is that if the virtual assistant leaves at any point, you've always got that master document, so it then becomes person independent. So they leave, you get a new person, and you go, here's all your training material, off you go. Risk mitigated. You don't have to worry about them leaving.
I've got a message from Lewis Cousins. Lewis, if you're still watching, and he says, hey guys, there are lease options in Bournemouth, as I'm working on a deal down here, which is an option. What's the odds? Cheers, Lewis.
Thank you.
Does that answer your
Oh,
question?
you're in the room?
Gotcha.
Oh no, they said thank you. You're not in the room, you're online.
Any VA companies? Just
So I use a mixture in terms of that. So I use Online Jobs PH. You can use people per hour, they're a bit more expensive. Personally, I will use any VA with any skill set anywhere in the world that delivers what I need. So don't necessarily go. So I've had VAs in South Africa, France, Bulgaria. Obviously, run a team in India and the Philippines. But my main ones for my business at the minute is around the Philippines.
Thank you.
Cheers. Question just from online, guys. So Mark Bromelo is asking, do you have to give the vendor their equity, or is it a courtesy? So they feel that they can walk away from the house as if it is sold. So you don't have to give the vendor their equity, but you can negotiate a deal where I've done deals where I'll negotiate below market value an amount, 5, 8, 10%, whatever, and give them some equity. I've done deals where I'll give them all of their equity, but I've actually done deals where I've given them more than their equity. I've bought houses at 85 grand value. I bought a house last year, an 85 grand value house. I paid 94,000 for it. Why? Because what a lot of people do is they try and buy 100 grand house, as I said, for 75. That'll rent for 500 quid a month, and they'll have a 500 quid a month mortgage, and it makes them no money. But what I did was I secured a purchase price at 94 grand for an 85 grand house, but I'm paying for that house over 5 years. So I've got an option to buy any time in the next 5 years. But that house makes £800 a month positive cash flow as a 4-bed multi-let, as a 4-bed HMO. So 800 quid a month profit over 60 months. Do the maths. 48 grand. I'm paying 94 for the house. But I've created 48 grand out of the property over 5 years. Who thinks that house will actually be worth 94 grand anyway in 5 years maybe? So what we do is we try and buy them today below market value instead of securing a price today and buying it over a period of time. We focus on equity. You cannot spend equity. We're in London, by the way. For anyone listening, we're in Blackfriars in London. There is people probably in this room, but definitely all across London, who are sitting in £1 million houses and they've got maybe 150 grand mortgage on it. There's 850 grand of equity and you cannot touch it. You could sell the house to release the equity, but here's your problem. You want to live in London. So you've got to buy another house for the same price. And you've got to only get 150 grand mortgage again. Because your mortgage on your home is based on a multiplier of your salary. So you can't touch the money. But we focus on equity. Equity is irrelevant. Cash flow is king. You can't spend equity. You can only spend cash flow. And then people say, well, I want the house prices to go up in value. And that's great, but I'm buying for the long term. I don't want house prices to go up in value. That's the last thing you should want when you're starting out. You should want them to go down in value. Start buying today and hope they go down, because you're going to pound cost average them over a period of time. And then in 20 years' time, you want them to go up. Not now. You want them to be going up when you're selling, not when you're buying. And what we think is we need them to go up in value so that we can then refinance it, pull a bunch of equity out, so we've got a lump of money to buy another house. Isn't that right? But you know what you've done? You've increased your debt and reduced your cash flow, when what you should have done was being creative about how you bought it in the first place, how you secured the cash flow in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Why are we increasing our debt and reducing our cash flow? Because you've got to pay that debt back sometime. It's got to happen. So create cash flow, guys. Create cash flow. Anyone else? Go here. What's the name?
Hi, Gata.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Can I ask 3 quick questions?
Give you one.
Okay.
Pick the best one.
When you get the deals through letting agents, I mean, it's a question for all of you, whoever can answer. Do you use their company debt agreement? And if you do you usually get every agreement checked by a solicitor when you take on a new property? And do you often use deposit insurance? Do you use deposit insurance instead of as an alternative to paying a deposit?
She still asked all 3 questions.
Yeah.
She just combined them into one. Linked.
Good girl.
I can answer those. So, yes, so we actually use the agreement, simply because we asked them to amend the agreement so it excludes anything to do with an AST, so we're not breaking any law. It still covers everything that we want it to cover, so it just saves us having to go to a solicitor. So we've seen a few agreements now, so we know exactly what to look for. There was one deal, this particular one that I presented actually, where we had to get our own agreement, simply because it took ages to get over the line, and the mortgage provider wasn't happy with the agreement that the letting agents provided. So that's when we had to get the solicitors involved, and we actually did our agreement. But otherwise, we're more than happy to use theirs. It saves us money, it saves us time, everyone's happy. It basically does the job. What was the last question? Sorry?
Also about deposit insurance.
Deposit insurance. I have tried it a few times. They're not really happy to do that, to be honest. For some reason, they just like the money be handed over so they can put it away somewhere, so nobody can use it. So I always try and negotiate that, because I just think that's such a waste. Nobody can use the money. It's just sitting there potentially for years. So this deal that I presented again, I managed to negotiate so we didn't have to pay a deposit. And it was purely down to the fact that we spent so much money on the place anyway. It just made sense for the landlord to understand that we're already putting the money into the house. And if the money gets locked away for 2, 3, 4 years, basically just means there's less cash flow for us to spend on his house. So there's an argument there, but unfortunately not everyone listens.
Worth trying.
Yeah, you have to try. You might just get a no, but you tried. Does that answer?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Who'd like to go next? Who's next? Chanel. Hi. What's the name?
Hi, Chanel.
My question was, how did you scale from one property in 6 months?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
How did you scale from one property in 6 months to you and a lot less one?
Okay, so what do you mean by how do I scale? So,
Business scaling from 1 up to 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you do?
So what was the difference between that one
I guess it's just getting the first one over the line really was, for some reason, the hardest thing. Once it's there, I think I sort of mentioned it while I was talking to Phil earlier, once you take the first deal, you've proven yourself to that agent that you are actually a serious investor. And from then on, the conversation is different. They know what you want. They actually go out and look for deals for you. And once they do, they bring on the ones that you're actually interested in. So I had a conversation with them around the house. Like, oh, look, we've got this great house here, but it's not really right for you. So can I just have a look anyway? And that's true. They understand that. They know exactly what we want. So it really is just proving yourself first, and just really make them understand what you're actually looking for. And they will bring you deal. Does that help? Yeah.
We've time for one more question. Okay, so who'd like to go last? Lola.
Okay, it's basically questions relating to what you've answered already as well, regarding lease options. Regarding lease options, like Kevin said earlier, it's all about going in with an open mind and finding a report and all this stuff. Because I'm dealing with one lease option at the moment. The intention was not a lease option because the deal came through as a deal package, and I had a look. I think I mentioned it to you once, the one with the 6-bedroom HMO, and it came through as a deal package, and I had a look and I said it's not a deal. The price is too much. Then we went to see. Then I said, do you mind if we go and see the vendor? And the girl said, oh well, I don't want you guys to call me out. And I said, how much is your fee? She said 2,500. I said, okay, we'll pay you the 2,500 if we decide to go with it. And it's just about going to the vendor. And so what we done, we went with open mind. This is the situation. Your property is not worth the amount that you're saying that it's worth. I understand it's a commercial valuation you're looking at, but as an investor, we look at bricks and mortar. So bricks and mortar, your property is only worth this amount. But what we can do for you is do a lease options. And that's where the light bulb come up. And I was like, what's that about? And that's how you get a lease option coming through. So you don't go in thinking of a lease option. It's about finding out the real, what the situation is, because what he wanted was 100K just to go and do something with his life somewhere else, and that's why the lease option conversation came in. So that's one. So it's about being open-minded with anything that comes to you, and
that's what I said earlier. So what she's basically said, for those that didn't hear at the back, is that she thought she was looking at a deal packaging deal. Yeah. She went into the deal and realised the numbers didn't work, and then converted it into a lease option deal. Yeah. So you're not going after, it's not a lease option deal, it's just the tool in the toolbox that worked. Yeah. But did you have a question?
Yeah. So the question, yes, the question is, do you know when you're dealing with lease options and everything, and what is the max you can offer to the vendor, even though they say, oh yeah, I want this amount. What's the max you would suggest?
Oh, so what's the max? Really depends. I'll come over here and just as an example. So what's the max you'd offer? Well, if somebody's got a house and it's on the market for, I don't know, 350 grand, and it'll make you, if you were to pay 350 grand for it, it'll make you £300 per calendar month profit. Then you could probably offer 350 grand. But if somebody had a house for 350 grand, and it'd make you, if you took it on, £1,200 per calendar month profit, could you offer them 375 for that house? So it's never about what's the maximum you can offer. It's how much money will it put in your pocket every month. We spend too much time focusing on this number instead of focusing on this number. People chase the deal and then figure out if it'll make them any money. You've got to reverse engineer it. How much money will this deal make me every month? What can I afford to pay for the deal? Does that make sense? So it's not, some people think, can I pay 10% over the asking price? Can I pay 5% over the asking price? That's irrelevant. It's all about what's this number here. Because you can pay more for this house if that's the number and less if that's the number. Does that make sense? Have we found tonight helpful? So, hopefully you found that valuable. I've been Kevin McDonnell. You've been absolutely awesome. Good night, everybody.